Hello, my name is Benjamin Hart. I'm an American attorney and the Managing Director of Integrity Legal here in Bangkok, Thailand. Today we're going to be talking U.S. family visas, specifically things like the K-1 fiancé visa, the CR-1 visa, or the IR-1 visa for an American, or for the spouse of a U.S. citizen, and I guess you could lump the K-3 marriage visa in this category as well, notwithstanding the fact that the K-3 is kind of an obsolete travel document these days. What are we talking about here? Well, in other videos, we discussed what's the function of USCIS, we discussed what's the function of the National Visa Center, what's the function of USCBP. In this video, we're discussing what is the function of a U.S. Embassy, or the Department of State specifically, but really in its guise as the U.S. Embassy or consulate abroad. So, a case has been processed through U.S. Immigration in the United States, specifically United States Citizenship and Immigration Services. It's moved on through the National Visa Center, and depending on the category of visa, it may have spent a great deal of time with NVC, or it may have just been with NVC for a couple of weeks. Now the case has come to the U.S. Embassy. Well, the U.S. Embassy, in a way, legally speaking, this is all one adjudication, but in a way, it seems to the outsider to be somewhat redundant. But the first part of the process is essentially adjudicating the petitioner. So, like, say a K-1 visa case, they're trying to determine, are you a U.S. citizen? Are you legally free to marry? Is your foreign counterpart legally free to marry? And make the adjudication, the determination on those issues. Is it a genuine relationship is also a major component of that adjudication. NVC in those circumstances basically acts as a clearinghouse, sort of a postman, to make sure that the case gets to the right embassy abroad. And finally, at the embassy, that is where the applicant is more deeply looked at. And throughout all of this, that's really what one should take away from this video, is that at the embassy phase, the applicant is being scrutinized. So it's the applicant's police record, it's the applicant's medical history, it's the applicant's history of travel to the U.S., if any, or travel to other countries abroad, if any. It's the applicant's, and on top of that, the U.S. State Department is also tasked with making factual findings of legal inadmissibility to the United States, and if such a finding is made, it may be required to go ahead and obtain an I-601 waiver of said inadmissibility, if the ground of inadmissibility is even waivable at all. There are certain legal grounds of inadmissibility that cannot be waived. So basically, and on top of this, to get away from sort of the legalese, the embassy is also tasked specifically with interviewing the applicant for the visa. And there are things like the fraud prevention unit, which may be utilized if a case is flagged as a possibly high fraud case. And then on top of it, due to recent executive orders from President Trump, certain extreme vetting protocols are also undertaken by Department of State officials at a U.S. embassy or U.S. consulate abroad in going ahead and determining if the individual in question needs to be placed in, again, more heightened scrutiny with respect to the post before the visa application, the adjudication is concluded. It should be noted that in family visa cases, things like a 221G, which is a request for further documentation, which is issued by embassy officials, as we discussed 221Gs in detail in another video on this channel. But it should be noted that a 221G could be issued by a consular officer. Denial can be issued by a consular officer, although in family cases, they're going to need to state a reason for the denial. And then finally, the U.S. Embassy, consular officers at the U.S. Embassy may go ahead and approve a visa application, and upon approval, they'll go ahead and issue the visa and send the visa to the applicant. So, and after interview, generally the visa takes 7 to 10 days if it's approved. That, again, these are processing protocols happening here in Thailand. Somewhat similar in other jurisdictions around Southeast Asia, but could be very dissimilar in other regions. So each embassy, as has been explained in other videos on this channel, each embassy is going to do things very differently from the others. In a way, the jurisdictions are going to have their own unique way of doing things, which is sort of comes part and parcel with dealing with an entirely different nation state for each embassy and each consulate. So sort of to sum up, the embassy is usually the last for family visa cases, they're sort of the last stop on the train to getting one's visa to the United States. And in most cases, the U.S. Embassy is going to place a pretty high degree of certainty on the visa applicant, as their function really is to go ahead and make this final adjudication with respect to a visa application and look at this foreign national and ascertain whether or not they should be granted a visa to the USA.